Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome to episode number 33 of the Steel City Insider Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Hritz, alongside Jim Wexell. And today we are going to talk about the first Steelers preseason contest, Steelers versus Seahawks. Jim, how are you doing this fine Monday morning?
I'm much better, Jeremy. I'm going to go to practice today. COVID has gone through me and out of me, and I had the week off, and I missed the greatest preseason game in Acrisure Stadium history.
Well, it was a doozy. I was there in person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity to take all of my kids, which was a little difficult. But we had a blast. We got to see the roaring ovation that Kenny Pickett got when he came out on the field, and what a dramatic way to end the contest. We're going to get into all of that. But Jim, we'll start with the offense, shift over to defense. We're going to jump right in here.
How about we start with what are we going to do with Kenny Pickett? Let's start with quarterbacks. You know how fans are.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'll get started on this one, and I know you're going to strongly disagree with me here, but I've said from the outset that Mason Rudolph to me is trade fodder, and I expect him to be moved, if not before the end of training camp, maybe that week leading up to the first game against Cincinnati, because why are you going to draft a guy to sit on the bench and not be your number two should Trubisky not play well? But here's what I'd say. I think Kenny Pickett played a good game. I think maybe we're overhyping it a little bit. He was sharp on his throws outside the numbers, little check down passes. He didn't attack the middle of the field. His one deep ball was behind the receiver, and I didn't see a ton of zip on his throws. He needed touch for the passes that he did throw, but he did show a lot of moxie. He was mobile. He can move. And I thought Trubisky played well and hit his limited snaps. Mason, I still saw the flat-footedness despite that big pass to George Pickens, but I think all three played well. But I'd have to say Trubisky to me stood out. Pickett number two, and I'm not biased, I swear, but Rudolph number three.
Yeah, I'll stick with Trubisky 1, Rudolph 2, and Pickett 3. I don't know what Pickett doesn't know. The coaches know. Everything seemed limited for him. I don't think he's ready to step into a Cincinnati Bengals game at their stadium yet. So you better give me a lot for Mason Rudolph, because you're going to get some at the end of the year when he leaves in free agency. You're going to get a comp pick anyway. And he doesn't cost any money, and I see no point in. I mean, if you get overwhelmed, if you get a third or fourth, or a fourth, I don't know why you wouldn't. But Pickett was great. I think that was the main point of the game. That was the main takeaway I had, is that he and I wrote this before. He is their best pedigreed quarterback. It's pretty obvious in practice that he has the best combination of all the skills. But I don't think he's ready yet.
No.
So why do you want to trade this guy who is ready?
So here's my take on that: is if you're going to draft a guy in the first round,
that's all fan logic. Who's ready now to play the Cincinnati Bengals?
Trubisky.
You have two quarterbacks ready.
I think if called upon,
Pickett's ready to come in an emergency. I think
he's ready to come.
Maybe hand off.
Hey, game manager.
I'd rather have a veteran who's prepared for the Cincinnati Bengals 6 times in his life. That's just me.
Hey,
if you can get some for him, great. But don't say, well, you did this and you did that. And I mean, this is the first time anybody's seen Pickett be able to show that he can do it. Everybody can say they were great predictors of what he could have done, but quarterbacks drafted in the second half of the first round don't always come through with predictions. So we've seen that he can do he can do this job. Now we don't know what he doesn't know.
Right. I think the offense would change drastically if he was in there. I think he'd be more of a game manager. He wouldn't be, he would be handing the ball off a lot. It'd be a lot of play action. I just see you have 2 division teams in the first 3 games. So I see no reason to knock out your only experienced quarterback as a backup right now, unless you get overwhelmed. You get a 3rd or a 4th round draft pick, I'll take it, because I don't know if he's going to get more than a 5th in the comp pick. But right now he's cheap. There's no reason to worry about your cap and anything like that. I think the other thing too to keep in mind is just, as you monitor preseason and you see some of these teams with quarterbacks who are getting injured. I know Zach Wilson for the Jets, he's got a bone bruise, I think a torn meniscus. But if let's say that there is an injury to a team, to their quarterback, and they become desperate, maybe that does increase Mason's value. But again, I think the quarterbacks played well across the board. Really, I thought the offensive unit did much better than the defense, so we can get into that. But Jaylen Warren, I know you don't like me going to the lowly part of the depth chart, but
He's not lowly. He's not lowly anymore.
Does he have a chance to unseat Benny Snell as a number 2, or is that too lofty?
No, I mean, you got to start reading my stuff. Jaylen could be the number 2, and in my opinion, should be the number 2. Now, McFarland kind of gummed up the works with his impressive performance the other day. But was that real? We don't know yet. He's got to do that again. I don't think Benny Snell is real. I think Jaylen Warren's a real deal, except he fumbled. So I also like Master Teague. You want I say don't go to the bottom of the depth chart, and here I go. But that was impressive. That was impressive. Vision was his problem, but he saw what little holes were there. That's a big, fast, unknown running back. They may have a major find right there.
Yeah. So Jim, what did they do in the event that, let's say that Warren, Teague, and McFarland all continue to play extremely well, and will they keep 4 running backs, or will they try to put someone on the practice squad? How will that work?
They can keep as few as 2.
Okay.
Because Connor Hayward is an emergency tailback.
Okay.
And I think I think they're going to still keep Derek Watt. I know everybody wants to package. Everyone thinks that we can trade Mason, Derek Watt, Chase Claypool, and Devin Bush for Roquan Smith. And hey, that all sounds great. But I mean, packaging your 4 worst players doesn't get you a superstar inside linebacker. But not that Derek Watt's the worst player, but he's not a fan favorite right now.
Yeah.
But I think they keep him as the fullback. So there's 3 running backs right there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how Benny Snell makes this team. But Warren's a lock, and McFarland's still got to show it again, because in 2 years he hasn't done anything. But they could keep as few as 2. They could keep 2 guys and then a practice squatter. But you would suspect they'll keep 3, and so McFarland has a good chance.
Yeah, and just the yards per carry for the running backs: McFarland 8 yards per carry, Warren 5.7, Teague 5.2. I mean, just a solid performance from the running backs. Wide receiver George Pickens, wow, he and not just that catch that he made in the end zone. I don't know if you saw the clip of him blocking that guy off the line. He just bowled him over. But wow, he is every day. It looks like he is that guy.
Yeah, he is that guy.
Yeah. And then the rest of the receivers, Gunner, he had a couple nice plays out there, got open, looks like a gritty ball carrier. Steven Sims, guy that they brought on last year from the Washington football team, great punt return and a good rush. Any thoughts on the receiving core?
Well, Sims is the one that made the move. He was a fumbler a couple years ago. I mean, he's done these kind of things. He has a big kick return on his resume. He has a big punt return. He has a big run, and he has a big catch. He's done all that, but he's not an all-pro like Gunner is. I think Gunner locked up a spot. Now Sims made a move on his, and if Calvin Austin is injured for any length of time, Steven Sims made a case. But Miles Boykin also was great on special teams coverage. That's a big man that went down and tackled.
Yeah.
And Anthony Miller, Cody White. I think Vaughn's made a case, of course, game-winning touchdown play. I hope he knew how much time was left. I'm going to assume that he knew there were 3 seconds left instead of getting out of bounds and kicking the field goal. Vaughn's has done some things in camp, but practice squad looks like his high. But it was Sims. Sims is the one that made the case, because we all know Pickens can do. Pickens, Claypool, DJ, Austin. Now, if Austin's hurt, Sims made a move on that spot, but Gunner was a lock too.
Yeah. Solid performance overall by the wide receivers. And then the offensive line. It's not a position I got to watch too closely. I've been through the game twice now. Saw Dan Moore out there on the move a little bit, but also saw him getting overwhelmed. Kendrick Green was kind of iffy. James Daniels, I saw him, finishing a play very hard, but the offensive line looked a little bit better, but I still think it's early. Anything on the O-line jump out to you?
Well, good running attack. Keep an eye on the interior. We know Dan Moore can play. I've been writing about that for a while. Dan Moore is a player. The guy who beat him to sack Mason is also the guy who sacked Pickett. That guy's a second-round pick. He looks like a ball player. So, kudos to him. But Dan Moore can play. Chooks is Chooks. Got a little better. But the interior, just keep an eye on the interior because Mason Cole's questionable. He just seems to be a bridge guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniels gets beat in pass pro every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And Kendrick Green, I'm a Dotson guy, and Dotson's hurt again. Kendrick Green win by default. He showed some decent things, but he's going to get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
The Khalil Davis, the guy who ended that lateral game with extreme prejudice, has been making plays like that all camp. You turn around him, 68. It's like 68 again. Khalil Davis again.
Mm-hmm.
He ragdolled Kendrick Green in a one-on-one that I watched. So the interior is a question mark.
Yeah.
Nothing too problematic against Seattle. You have to wonder about Seattle's front seven, just like you have to wonder about Pittsburgh's front seven when Seattle was gouging it.
Yeah. Yep. So perfect segue, shifting over to the defensive side of the football. I felt that they underperformed. Again, a lot of no names out there, not starters, but wasn't very inspired by the depth. And I'll start with Devin Bush. I'm concerned that he's not going to be the player he was prior to injury. I try to focus specifically on him and watching the tape. And more of the same thing. He's not around the ball. He looks slow to the ball, out of position, gets caught up in the trash, can't get off of his blocks. Miles Jack, on the other hand, look aggressive, with his run fills. Did you see similar things with Bush, or do you think?
Yeah, I'd like to see, Miles Jack's going to have to stay healthy all season. I'd like, we all want to see Mark Robinson, but again, rookies, what do they not know?
Yeah.
Mark Robinson, I tell you, watch film of that sack, that strip sack at the end. And when he gets into it, when he turns the corner and turns on the Jets, he looks like Harrison. He's got James Harrison traits. And so, he's not the same player. Doesn't have that kind of power. He doesn't have play the same position. But I just see some James Harrison there. It's going to take some time. And, I don't know that you start trading your backup guy because with the Bengals coming in, you want a guy that knows the inside linebacker position. So I don't know if you can just cut everybody and play a rookie right away.
Yeah.
No, you agree with that, but you don't agree with quarterback. I was trying to make an analogy to quarterback. The same kind of position. They need a smart guy to play inside linebacker. But Mark Robinson was impressive. We want to waste time talking about Devin Bush and Robert Spillane. And, it's just like, here we go again. They obviously had 2 or 3 guys that couldn't do the job last year. And now they have Miles Jack, and they've got to keep him healthy because he's one of those take Wednesday off guys. He's always perpetually rehabbing a knee. So you got to keep him healthy.
I'll jump up to the defensive line again. Just a lot of the backups out there. Henry Mondo, sure, he had a sack, but he was getting pushed back. Isaiah Loudermilk was a little uneven. I did see a little bit of push from him, but again, he was inconsistent, so not much there. Tuska at the outside backer position really didn't do much of anything. So really, that front seven I didn't see much.
Yeah, the guy I've been writing about, Delonte Scott, was unimpressive. So that was the only guy I missed on in my previews. I praised a lot Warren, Pickett, Casey, Robinson, and Delonte Scott. And Delonte Scott didn't play well. So their backup outside linebackers. Do we go further down the depth chart and start looking at that brick house they brought in? What's his name? Rondell
Yeah, Rondell something.
He's built. And then the other guy got a sack, Hamilcar
Rashad.
Rashid.
Yeah, Rashid. See, I get my mispronunciations.
Hamilcar Rashid.
Yeah.
So he had a sack. I mean, do you start looking at closely at those guys? Tuzar Skipper recovered a fumble. So, the backup outside linebackers were disappointing. The backup defensive linemen, we know what they have, and we know what they didn't play with. Cameron, Tyson Alualu, Ogunjobi. It was 3 guys weren't even there.
Yeah.
So that's understandable.
Yeah.
The safeties, I really like Casey. And as I wrote in my preview, don't be surprised if he's starting this season at strong safety.
Wow. That's a big projection there. Perfect segue again, man, you're 2 for 2 here, Jim. Talking about the secondary, Trey Norwood stood out a little bit. He showed a little bit of, jump in development from last year to this year. Is he more slated?
He'll always be speed. He'll always be speed deficient.
Okay.
But he is more physical. Yeah. Same with Pierre. People are raving about Pierre breaking up balls in the red zone. That's what he did last year. But I mean, cornerbacks have to be tested on a 50-yard go pattern, and that's where he's going to be speed deficient. So you have 3 guys, and next in line, Chris Steele didn't. I don't think he got in until the very last series. So it looks like they're still taking long looks at Justin Lane and Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
So they need a 4th corner, but I do like what KZ showed as the 3rd safety. And, it'll be interesting. Somebody wrote in our message board that with 2 free safeties, you can give a lot of different looks, especially the way Minka can play strong safety. And you can do a lot of things with Minka. Maybe this is the guy they've needed to do that, free up Minka.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting. And KZ's my interview subject today. I'm going to seek him out. And I'm just going to keep an eye on what they do with him. I just have a hunch he could be a starter.
Yeah. The last player I'll mention before we wrap this up, because I know we're trying to keep this around 20 minutes, but Levi Wallace, I thought he was solid. He was around the ball. He looked aggressive, physical. Again, very early. You can't take too much away from one contest, but just in his limited action, I thought he did well.
Well, that's another guy who's always going to be speed deficient, but he's tall and he's smart, and he's a number 3. And so, but, speed will be the thing with him.
Yep. All right, Jim. So we got another week of practice here. Then the Steelers are going to travel down to Jacksonville, Florida to take on the juggernaut Jaguars. What's
So Jacksonville, I would start Mason. I would get him on the road so you and your family don't boo him again.
We didn't boo him.
Oh, good for you, because a lot of people did. When they cheered the strip sack, I thought of Terry Bradshaw's separated shoulder and being cheered as he was helped off the field in 1974. But so I would start Mason this game. He's a road guy. Get him out of everyone's hair. Let him think and operate. And Jacksonville's going to be a difficult at Jacksonville, especially in the heat. And I think they're a young, hungry defense. With a new coach, they'll play with a lot of enthusiasm. That won't be an easy game. So that'll be a good test for Mason. And then you bring it home back again, and then you start Pickett in the 3rd game, give him a lot of reps. Maybe Trubisky gets a lot of reps in Jacksonville too, because you got to get him ready to start.
Yeah.
So that's how I would line it up for Jacksonville.
Right. And then on the defensive side of the ball, anything you're really looking forward to, or players who need to step up?
I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm looking to see DeMonte Casey become the starting strong safety.
Okay. Well said.
Obviously, they need an inside linebacker, and they can pull that trade for that Bears inside linebacker and then extend him. If Omar has any magic left, that would be interesting.
Hey.
I would rush to the window to throw. What are they, 40-1, 80-1 to win the Super Bowl? I'd throw 10, $20 on that if they picked up an inside linebacker. Yeah.
All right. Well, stranger things have happened. And hey, speaking of stranger things, this is our first 20-minute podcast. We always go long, but we're trying to keep it a little bit more condensed here.
Yeah, I tried to rush you along. So don't blame me for being impatient this time, because we wanted it 20 minutes.
There we go.
Next time you'll know.
There we go.
All right, man.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next edition of the Steel City Insider podcast. Take care.